Hey, what's up guys? I'm back with another video. In the last video I showed you guys what it looks like for me throughout the day, what the so-called practicing your lifts looks like throughout the day, what the greasing the groove looks like throughout the day based upon Pavel Tsatsoulin's methodology of strength training. Now, before I go into this video, I just want to make clear what my goals are when it comes to training, and those are purely strength-based. I am a very firm believer of function over form, and if form comes as a side effect, then that's good, but function has to be number one. I want my body to be strong through the compound movements that are universally recognized as the cornerstones of strength. And those movements I'm going to list now: deadlifts, squats, overhead press, rowing, pull-ups. Now I'll leave bench press out of it because I feel, you might not agree with this, but I feel bench pressing is just it's a movement that I feel like it's not well expressed, number one in the sporting field, and two just in life in general. Any lift where you are not solid on the ground and balancing while performing the movement, I feel like it is artificial. To have a bench on which you lay down and then you handle extreme weight above your chest just feels like it is just a artificial movement. You might disagree with this, that's fine. The bench press has been the cornerstone of many strength programs. With all due respect to it, it's a very good upper body strength builder. So my goals are to get strong at those movements. And sure, if I get bigger, I get bigger. If I get muscular, I get musclier. That's fine. But my side goal also is not to put on unnecessary weight. I do recognize that putting on body weight generally means that you get also stronger, if that makes any sense. You basically end up lifting heavier weight when you put on body weight. This is one of the reasons why some of the strongest people in the world are very, very big people, as in weigh a lot. Weight moves weight, I guess. The foundational reason why I got into training was purely health reasons. I never set out to break no records, so for me health is a very, very important aspect to all of this. I'm not going to jeopardize my health for no world record. I remember seeing Eddie Hall when he had that world record deadlift attempt. After the video, there was an interview a couple of months after or something like that, and he's basically talking about how his health has suffered immensely over the years trying to get this world record. He's just such a large man. I think it was like 200 kilos at that time. Such a massive man, such a huge strain on the cardiovascular system. Just to name one system that will be under extreme strain. Mad respect to him. He's one of the strongest men in the world, but for me, that's not a trade-off that I'm willing to take. For me, health is number one, and strength is second. Now, getting back to this video, you're going to see me going through a overhead press plus squat session where I do 17 sets of triples for both, meaning 17 sets of 3 repetitions with a modest amount of resting in between. Now, the principles that I talked about in the previous video, which call for full recovery before attempting the next session or the next set, that is for throughout the day practicing of submaximal weight. For this session, I rest, but I don't rest an hour in between sessions, in between sets. So typically my resting is around 3 to 5 minutes with these. My goal is to, number one, practice the movement. It follows the same methodology of Pavel Tsatsouline. But I don't go to failure. I stay way clear of that. And I just get a ton of volume in with weight that's respectable. And yeah, my total tonnage throughout the week is what's going to drive progress. So for the overhead press, I've got 60 kilos on the bar. For the squat, I go 120. And I basically do 3 of each, back to back, and then I'll rest 3 to 5 minutes. I shake my hands out, I shake my legs out, I do a bit of stretching here and there, just to kind of keep the nervous system fresh and whatever, and then I get back to it. No repetition is a struggle. With the squat, I do try to come out of the hole a little bit slower, just to make sure I train each portion of the lift. I'm not overly a big fan of bouncing out of the hole, because I feel like that bounce, that stretch reflex, kind of skips over some of the vital or the weak points of the lift. And I'm not here just to make the lifts easier. I'm here to train each portion of the weight of the movement. So I feel like if you go slow through it, you train each portion of it. If you bounce and flick and whatever and use momentum, that's, I don't know, I feel like that's not real strength training, and it's not a good strength builder. But yeah, so 17 sets of each. It takes me about an hour to get through this, hour and 15. My son is running around and causing a muck and whatever. I sometimes can drag out to even 2 hours when I have to chase him around when I've got him for the day, when I'm babysitting him. But yeah, generally, if I'm uninterrupted, hour and 15 is usually what it takes to get through this. And yeah, I try to do this particular session 3 times a week. This is on the background of doing what the last video called for, which was practicing throughout the day. So I practice every single day with those 4 movements: pull-ups, deadlifts, rowing, and knee raises. And then I, later on in the day, or sometimes I even do this session first, but later in the day I do the 17 sets of OHP and squat, and I do that every second day. And so on the days that I'm not doing overhead press and squat, I just do a bit more volume with the practicing sessions. And then maybe once a month, I have a day where I try and sort of test myself, what I've done in terms of how much max repetitions I can get with the various lifts. But those sessions are far in between. I try not to test too often, because the actual act of testing interrupts progress. Those sessions are generally much tougher to recover from. So that's generally the current program that I'm running. Now it has evolved ever so slightly in the last couple of months, based on just my evolution, my kind of thinking. I grab ideas from wherever I can, but I solely rely on Pavel Tsatsouline's methodology. I'm very attracted to that type of thinking, and I try and kind of put on some new ideas on top of it from my own, just to test my own kind of evolutionary thoughts. But I generally try to just stick with Pavel and what he says. And for the overhead press, by the way, Pavel has an opinion that to press a lot, you need to press a lot, meaning in order for you to get really strong in the overhead press, you just need to do it a shit ton throughout the week. So volume for the overhead press at a reasonably high intensity is what's required. Generally for upper body musculature, you do need to have a high percentage of the 1 rep max training sessions. They're less taxing, much less taxing than like the deadlift and the squat, because you're dealing with a lot less weight and a lot less musculature. The OHP is just, it's a very weak movement for a lot of people, especially for people that do a lot of bench pressing. Bench pressing can kind of bind you up in terms of your mobility, and for people to stick their hands straight up in the air in good form can be an issue alone, let alone adding weight and resistance and whatever. And so Pavel calls for three sessions a week of at least 50 repetitions, hence where this 17 sets comes from, 17 sets of 3 reps gets you about 51 repetitions. So that's where I got the 17. It's a very specific number, I know, but that's where I get the 17 sets of 3 from. So I try to do that 3 times a week, and I try to just stick with the same weight, and I try to perfect the movement just like we talked about in the last episode. Everything's about practice, 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 practice. Just because you don't feel lactic acid burn, just because you don't feel exhausted, doesn't mean your body is not getting enough stimulus to grow. I have put on a couple of kilos ever since I've started this protocol, and not one day have I felt sore or exhausted. You guys need to understand that total tonnage per week is what drives progress, not individual session tonnage. Meaning that if you do 3 days in a week of 17 sets of OHB, that is a shit ton more than you could do in 1 session a week. You couldn't do 50 sets of this stuff once a week. I mean, you would die. It would be such a big shock to your system that it would take you a week to recover, and the quality of the later sets will be very, very poor. And that's another important point with this high frequency training, that if you have a shit day today, that doesn't mean your whole week is screwed. You're going to be doing it again in 2 days' time. So you get to practice your movement often, and you get to add a lot of volume through high frequency, not through a monster session. And it's all about quality of repetitions. If you're just kind of flicking the weight up and just can't wait to get through the session, that's not quality. That's just, you're just wasting your time. You're just introducing bad motor neuron patterns into the system. You need to be very clear to what you're telling your body. If you want to get stronger, perfect the movement, perfect the form, and keep practicing that form. You don't want to be sticking your butt out, arching your back on those later sets because you're just fatigued. Fatigue is a bitch. Fatigue makes us do funny things. So this is why fatigue is not part of this program at all. It's solely good form, good function, good strength. So that's basically the gist of this training session. So just to recap, practice every day with the 4 movements that I described before: pull-ups, deadlifts, rows, and knee raises. And then every second day I do a session of OHB and squats for 17 sets of triples. And that's basically my week. Eat enough food. By no means that means force eat. Eat when you're hungry. Plenty of hydration, and just stretch in between whenever you can. This type of training suits a busy lifestyle like what I have. Essentially, I've got a little one at home. Work a full-time job, so I don't have time to spend 2 hours in the gym every single day. What I like to do is open up the shed, load the bars after a little warm-up, and then you go about my daily business of whatever I need to do in the backyard, in the house, doing the chores, taking care of the little one. And then every so often I jump into a set, and throughout the day I can do several sets, and then the total tonnage adds up. So it works out to be a really, really effective way of training for busy folk. But that's it. In the future, I'll upload some maximum efforts on each of the lifts to show you guys where I'm at. But yeah, until next time, peace out.